Hey everyone, this is Josh back with Cardboard Chronicles, making my comeback with Brett from Stacking Slabs. How's it going, Brett?
I am doing well. I am excited to be on Cardboard Chronicles. Been a longtime fan. I still go back and watch the episodes because you curated a bunch of very insightful collector guests, and I still go back to them and learn a thing or two. So excited to be a part of the relaunch.
Well, since I haven't done one in so long, it's basically an archive at this point. So I'm glad to hear some people still enjoy the archival aspect of the show. So this one's going to be really different because so much has changed, since I last did one. But I think it's going to basically stay the same. I'm just going to keep, interviewing collectors, and Brett has one of my favorite shows, in the game right now with Stacking Slabs. So I just kind of wanted to kick off. Just tell me about you and tell me about Stacking Slabs and your kind of journey through the hobby so far.
Yeah, so I'm like a lot of people. I revisited the hobby for the first time in a long time during the pandemic. I've always been a collector of almost everything. You can see behind me. This is like just a sliver of my vinyl collection. We're having work done downstairs, and I spent my Sunday carrying 2,000 records from downstairs to upstairs. So I just love physical assets. I love the connection, supporting the memories. And so during when I revisited the hobby, I quickly realized a ton had changed since I had last been in it. And I'm in B2B marketing professionally. I work in startups, I work in content. And so part of my process in navigating and investigating and exploring how different the hobby was me diving in and saying, you know what, like I've got a little free time on my hands. Let me start like talking about the changes, what I'm experiencing. And that's really was the catalyst for Stacking Slabs and how it got started. And honestly, like I'd share my thoughts about what I was going through, and it started to resonate with people. But for me, like the rubber really met the road when I started to reach out to individuals. And I reach out to individuals because I'd want to learn from them. I'd say, hey, I follow your page, I follow your channel, whatever it is. I love what you're doing. Will you come on my show? Because I want to benefit from learning from you. And then I think the audience that I'm building will too. So that's been going, it's crazy. Like I look at how many, we're like 200 plus episodes over the last couple years. And to be honest with you, it's been like the most rewarding passion project that I've probably ever done. And mostly it's because it's a fast pass to learning more about areas of the hobby that I want to explore deeper in. But also it's like and I'm sure Josh, you feel the same way through this show and the crossover, but just my network is global, and it's a global network all around the passion of collecting sports cards. So a little bit about me. I live in Indy. When I'm not working or I'm not taking care of my 8-month-year-old daughter, I'm on my phone, like all of you, searching for cards on all of the auction houses, eBay, on Instagram, all those things.
I wanted to talk about Stacking Slabs and sort of it still kind of has this like underground, more, grassroots, genuine feel. And, everyone today, in these hobby businesses, they want to make money, they want to make content every day, and they want to like turn it into sponsorships and start turning it into money. You said something about this in your last episode, and you were being sort of coy with it, but what is your feeling around just kind of keeping it that way and building up what you have?
Yeah, so I never have gotten asked this, so I'm happy to answer it. I tend to, with content in general, professionally, and this translates back to the hobby, is I try to come from a place of abundance, and I try not to have a transactional mindset. And
Mm.
the things that I'm trying to do and explore, and the brand I'm trying to build is organic. Like I literally don't want everyone to listen to my show. I don't want everyone to follow me. The people who I want to listen to my show and the people who I want to follow me are the people who are collectors at heart, and the people that share in a similar passion, and people who are going through similar obstacles. So for me, like it's always quality over quantity. Like I don't care about volume metrics. I really don't. What I care about is the right type of profile and collector that is engaging in my content. And so with that being said, a lot of hobby brands out there that are writing checks for individuals and sponsoring their content, they're not for me. Like, they're not for me, and they're not for my audience. So I'm very thorough if someone approaches me regarding a partnership, and 9 times out of 10 I say no. It's very rare that I do bring someone on, and if I do bring someone on, it's typically not because of what they're building or what they're going to be building. It's because I believe in the individual, and I believe in their contribution or future contribution to the hobby. I think the content gets lost when we start building for sponsors and we start building for businesses. We really, like, the focus needs to be on the collector and the person on the other end. So I'm very mindful of that. And I'll also say, like, I spend a lot of time on this. So it's not like a never thing. It's a let's wait for the right time thing. And so that's been kind of my attitude and approach throughout my entire journey with Stacking Slabs.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I made Cardboard Chronicles episodes for years and never made a dime, and then turned it into, a hobby business. It's really more about the right opportunity, like you said. And even this, the connection that we have with your show, the card ladder stuff. We haven't told you a single thing what to do. We haven't like checked your viewerships. We haven't gone into those details. It's more just like, hey, you like our stuff, we like your show, let's just leave it at that, right? Like, we don't have to push each other on paid sponsorships and how many spots you have to call out for us and stuff like that. So it definitely comes across that way when I listen to your show. It just feels way more, it's just what it, it's just more real. This is what you are.
Yeah. And I think, Josh, just to comment back on like this show, it's kind of like Inception talking about the show that we're on, but it's like, you met Chris and Christina, and you met Nat because you interviewed him a couple times. I mean, if you just like zoom out and look at like your show and the relationships and then where you're at now, it's not because you took a check because someone wanted to pay you $1,000 to hit their sponsorship ad and put them in. It's just not how it goes. And I just think, like, in the hobby in general, just like with the way we go after cards, and with, if you have content, with content in general, it's like there's just such a transactional mindset. And I just think if everyone just zooms out a little bit, in content creator role or not, and just think about the long game, like, typically what happens on the other side is greater than what you would have gotten, on Tuesday or when that check hits. So that's just my thoughts on it.
If you watch the first like 20 guests of the show, they're all people who are at least semi-successful, but many of them very successful in their, outside the hobby jobs. And they use the hobby as their, what the word is, it's a hobby. It was a separate side thing for them where they were spending their discretionary money from their jobs and they're spending it on the hobby that they like. And then the conversation became just centered around that. And to your point, in the last 2 years, it has become more transactional. Do you think we're going to shift back now that prices, I don't want to just go straight to the markets going down conversation, but do you think we are going to shift back to more of that type of mindset of like, maybe I should get back to work and spend my money on this as a hobby?
I hope so. And not saying like I didn't learn something and there wasn't good things from the last 2 years, but I don't know. It's like when the dust settles, when the market goes down, who's standing tall? It's the collectors who've been here and have seen all of these waves happen. And so to me, when I hear market going down, you have to ask yourself the question first, is it the market in the segment of the hobby that I operate in? That's the first point. I think so often we talk about the hobby as a whole when we really need to be shrinking it down a little bit. But I hope so. I want to buy cards for cheaper. I'm here forever. Like I love it. We're busy people. We have kids, professional careers. It's like when I'm not doing those things, I'm spending my time with cards. And so, I've learned a lot from the collectors that have been here for a while. And I think I came in with this one point of view about it's time to blow everything up. Things are changing. Things are going up. Let's start thinking about it this way. And that mindset that I had coming in flipped within the first 6 months. And what I realized, which I hope more people realize, is that like the real learning is in the time spent in the experience. And the biggest hack, and I hate saying hacks, but the biggest hack you can have in the hobby is building relationships with people who've been here for a while, because they'll set your mind at ease. You'll learn when the right time to buy certain cards is. So I hope so.
Yeah. Well, we've gone way too far without talking about what you collect. So please just walk me through everything you collect, why you collect it, your connection to these, physical items, and why you love them.
Yeah, no, this is man, this is content. We're talking about cards and collecting. This is a breath of fresh air. So I collect a couple different avenues. So I am a massive Indianapolis Colts fan. I'm a season ticket holder, have been a season ticket holder through RCA Dome to Lucas Oil to, Manning, Luck, and everything in between. Hopefully I can say Matt Ryan. It's been a rocky road. So I've always had a connection when I came back in the hobby with literally I leave my house on game day and walk a mile and I'm there. So like Lucas Oil's in my backyard, which is super fun, like motivating me. I'm a runner. I go on runs, and in the morning, like when I'm like off to like a bad start, I'll be like, you know what? I'm going to run to Lucas Oil and I'm just going to see the Peyton Manning statue today because I want to, because I just think about all that guy did for me and the fandom and just the emotional connection. And so it's funny. It seems like Peyton has gotten hot in the hobby in a way where it's like a lot of people are talking about him because he's such a public figure. Which is fun. It's fine. I like that new collectors coming in. But for me, he's my favorite athlete of all time. So obviously I collect Peyton Manning. And so for me with Manning, you got a guy that, started his career in 1998 and he ended his career on a different team in 2015. And so you zoom out and you think about like all the eras of licenses and products and everything in between. And gets kind of challenging to figure out what I should focus on. So for me, like I'm like a lot of the hardcore collectors in a way where it's kind of like I kind of want stuff that not a lot of people that have. Like that's an element of my Peyton Manning collecting that I like. So that starts kind of with the serial numbered stuff, shiny stuff, but it's not limited to. So I'll start with an example. We're showing cards here.
Yeah, you're looking over there. Just do it, man.
Okay, so I'll start here, and this is a card that I freaking love. And there's this. If you're not aware, this is the 2002 X Fractor Peyton Manning from Finest. This is the first X Fractor ever created in football, 2002. And what's unique about this, it's serial numbered to 20. So there's 20 copies of this card.
Yeah.
It dances, it's got all the elements. And so what's fun about this card is like I'm in a Peyton Manning chat and I think 5 other people with it. So like I know there's 20 copies. I think I know 6 people who own it. It's like there's 14 out there somewhere. But to me, we were in a chat and we were talking like the Brady, I think the Brady sold for, I don't know, maybe in March it was ridiculous. I can't even remember. It was substantial. And so we were talking about what would the price be that we would sell ours? And to me, like I love it. It's my favorite player. It hits all the attributes, but I just couldn't sell it. So this card stands out. I'll show a couple other Mannings here.
I love the 20, man. Those low serial numbers that like, it's not 50 or 25 or 100. It's like 20. It's just so different and awesome.
Oh yeah. This is another, I'm just realizing this is another BGS 9 copy, but it is what it is. This is out of 99, and this is actually not the rarest of this card because it's not the 24 karat, but it's the gold this is rookie from Flair Brilliance, and it's out of 99. But like if you think about, I like gold cards like any collector, and there's just not a lot of gold Peyton Manning rookie cards. So this is one that stands out to me. Just in terms, like there's the 24 karat maybe is the chase eventually, but I don't know. The 90s stuff, like You gotta love. I know you're a '90s guy, so that's another one that stands out.
Yeah, you said Manning's
and then
got,
I'll show another one.
all the
Go
different.
ahead.
Manning's got all the different products. He really does. He's in all the best eras of cards, in my opinion.
He is. There's a lot to work with. And here's the last one I'll show, and then I'll move on to some of the other stuff. But this one, again, like this card, I think in Manning circles is talked about, but it's the only year they did this, so that stands out to me. And there's there's 100, it's at 139, which is a little high, but I don't know, man. This card to me is the 2011 Crystal Atomic Refractor. This is actually the only BGS 10 of it. But like, I don't know, that card just hits in so many levels. And like playing the Patriots here, which the rivalry is significant. I actually like, I made a trade for this at the National last year. So I had a Kyler Kaboom, which we were together when I bought that card.
Mm-hmm.
And so I traded that Kyler Kaboom and I got cash for this card. And when it happened, I was just like, oh man. And so, yeah, I don't know, like shiny serial numbered Peyton's, just stuff. I feel like it's like the captain, Kevin Randall. He's a big Manning Brady collector. We were talking one time. He's just like, I was like, so what do you keep? What do you sell? He's like, dude, it's the stuff that like is shiny that like reminds me of being a kid, which I don't know. I think we can all relate to that at some level.
Yeah. The stuff that is like 7 layers away from you selling it, where it's like, oh, first I'm going to sell my house and then I will sell these last few Mannings. All right. What else? What about the wrestling stuff?
Yeah. So, big wrestling degenerate. I'm actually wearing a Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio Halloween Havoc 97 shirt. So that's basically, I'm a mark. So I just wear this stuff all the time. And so it translates to my collecting of cards. So what's been interesting, if anyone watching is not into wrestling, there's been a tremendous like momentum shift over the past year. And part of it starts with the release of WWE Prism. But for wrestling collectors, most of the attention has been on kind of what you would consider vintage wrestling cards, 82 All-Stars, that sort of thing, 85 Tops. To me, like that stuff, it doesn't have the attributes of the stuff that I collect on the football side. So I didn't really I tried to collect it, but it just didn't hit. I'd always just sell it. So for me, I went down exploring the path of like what exists shiny serial numbered in wrestling that I can appreciate. And so when I started to go down that avenue, it's like we all have these moments, but it was like I spent all my money anyway on cards, but like I would literally like I was buying tons of cards because the cards were so cheap at the time. And so I'd just like look up 2014 Topps Chrome gold refractors and I just like start buy it now. I didn't care. I just buy it now, because like I had such a strong conviction that like these were the first year of the gold refractors, Topps Chrome, collectors collect Chrome. And so I just didn't understand how like the price of these cards and why they were so cheap. So I just like, here's like a stack of just like 2014 Topps Chrome cards, which I'm going to say on Cardboard Chronicles, in my opinion, is the most important, because I own a bunch, but it's I think it's the most important parallel. But like you've got so much cool stuff. Like here's the Undertaker gold PSA 10. I think there's 2 of these. This is a pop 2. The Brock Lesnar's a pop 1. So this is the gold refractor of Brock Lesnar. Let's see what else. This card's turned into being a massive card. Is the Rock. This is the PSA 9 of it. But he's given John Cena a sharpshooter. Here's the Cena. So it's just like, I don't know, like that's my zone. And it tells the story of significance with like it being first year, the roster being great. But yeah, so that's that. And I'll just a couple other modern ones that I'll show. I think people, if you follow wrestling cards, you've realized that Roman Reigns has kind of become the guy. I know you're a LeBron collector, Josh. I consider him kind of the LeBron James of professional wrestling. And where he's at right now in his career is the moment when LeBron went to the Heat. That's kind of his character arc I'm drawing
He's a
comparisons here,
villain
but
now. He's a heel.
he is a heel.
Oh, I mean, that's good for guys, right? To become a heel. Isn't that good for
Oh,
their?
dude, yes. Like he is a heel, but he's a cool heel, and people like the
Mm,
amount of merchandise people are buying because of him is insane. But I was fortunate to get ahead of a lot of the stuff and landed a couple fun cards. So this is the 2021 Super Fractor of Roman
oh,
Reigns. 1 of 1 PSA 9. This is the last Chrome product before they transition to
Prism.
Prism, and this is the first card in his heel persona of the Tribal Chief. So that's kind of cool. Then I've got the first year Finest. WWE had the Finest license, or WWE made Finest. Here's the Super Fractor from 2020 Finest. So like you can see, like that's his like baby face
Mm-hmm.
big dog character. And then this is an insert from that, which is another Super Fractor, but like Decade Finest, 1 of 1. So I now like I know we go through this as collectors, but I see the Roman market and prices and Prism stuff, and it doesn't really interest me the same way it did when I was buying the cards at the price and the level it was. It was almost like I'm telling myself, okay, like not saying I'll never buy more Roman Reigns, but like the ship is kind of sailed. If
Yeah.
there's an opportunity that comes or the market goes down, then I'll bounce. But I don't feel forced to go and pursue him anymore at this point because I'm really set. Like these are 3. I've got a whole nother stack, but like I'm really satisfied with where my Roman Reigns collection is at right now.
Well, you want me to point something out that's kind of funny?
Yeah.
It's not really funny, but it's an interesting observation. And I'm not directly correlating this to you, so don't take it that way. The Peyton Manning and wrestling markets have gone up substantially in the last year. The interest has driven up substantially, and it's because you've garnered and built and put a spotlight onto these communities in a genuine way. They have genuine interest in these things, and it's just such a better strategy than like begging people to follow you on pump and dump type strategies of like, you guys, this is way undervalued, you need to get into this, you need to look at this 5 years from now, you're going to regret you didn't get into this. That sort of speak, just it doesn't actually work long term. It just kind of gives these little peaks and valleys. And I feel like the way that you've done this just as like a really grassroots organic thing, and now you can look back and say, you've gotten a lot of people into these 2 markets and they're having fun with it, and there's a lot more interest in it than it was before. It's kind of the right way that you want to see the outcome of bringing new people into an industry and a hobby.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, and I hope I hope my show and my collecting and my thoughts has contributed somewhat to the growth of those segments. And I tend to like the people and the connection and the community that I share information in with those groups, because it's not like we don't sell cards, but our preferred method is to keep our cards and buy cards unless that card appears and we know we only have one shot, and then we got to like make some decisions. So it's not like this sell first mentality because we're looking for the cash to go spend it on a weekend vacation. It's like my joy is this case of cards. Like this is what makes me happy. And like, I collect these cards. I want to keep these cards. And we know like it evolves and things change and interests change and you sell off some stuff, or maybe you miss out on someone you buy and you don't have a connection anymore. But like at the end of the day, it's like, I think when you're come from a place of abundance and you are thinking like a collector, you gravitate and you start meeting other collectors, and it's this similar thread that's woven throughout each collector. And it kind of it's fun. It's a fun community because like, to be honest with you, like I don't get like, I'm not I use Card Ladder every day, but like I don't get caught up in looking at the value of my cards
Right.
every day on Card Ladder. It's not about that. It's about like the possession and the stories.
Yeah, man. Love that stuff. Could talk about this sort of, I just in the last like 2 years, I hate to keep going back to this, but I just feel like most of the conversations that people have with me are, they're sort of like trying to get advice out of me of when you're going to sell that stuff. What's the time to buy? What's the time to sell? And I'm always just like, am I crazy that I just actually want to buy the stuff to collect it. I just feel like I'm such the minority recently. And so I don't know. Do you feel that way? Do you feel like people come to you and they're like, "Oh, you're such a genius. You made money on wrestling," and you got to be thinking like, "No, I actually just like these cards."
Yeah, no, I think it's interesting. I think that my mindset is if you lead your buying behavior with buying stuff like, dude, let me just show you this. This is like makes no sense, but this will like kind of frame up this. So I went on this crazy journey recently, and it was like I told you, like the Colts make me really happy. They made me really sad at the end of last year, and there's a lot of factors that I won't go into for that. But I think about the last time the Colts made me really happy, and it was when it was during the pandemic when everyone's life sucked and we had football, and yeah, like there was no one really in stadium watching it. But like I was thinking about my team, and there was a year Phillip Rivers was our quarterback, and I just think about how fun that season was, and like we made the playoffs, we lost to Josh Allen, it was a damn close game. But then I like reflected on Rivers, and I was looking at his stats. He's top 10 all time in passing yards and touchdowns. And I hated this guy before he came to Indianapolis. He was like, he always beat Peyton. He always did. But then like him interviewing and all this stuff, like listening to him over and over, it's like I grew an appreciation. So I was sitting there one day, I was like, I'm just collecting Peyton and football and some other things. It's like, I want to just explore Phillip Rivers. So I just like, I went nuts. Like, so I was like, you know what? I could probably get all of his gold finest cards ever existed. So I just like, I love finest. So I just started buying everything, and it just like on and on and on. And I was like, and then I could start buying his gold prism cards on and on. And so it's just like, to me, it's like, I don't care what the value is. Like the fact that I can like, dude, when I'm in a meeting, I can go out and spread them all out and just be like, you know what? I'm missing these years, and let me check my saved searches. And I don't know, it's something about, it's hard to describe, but it's something about like going on these collector journeys that if you're just in it for the money, you don't understand. And that's why I think like we talk about the hobby as a whole, there's so many different segments, and we really need to start catering to those segments. And if flippers want to flip, be my guest, like go do your thing. Like it's good. Cards will pop up that I'll buy. If breakers want to break, do your thing. But I just like everything gets so clumped together, and then we all get pissed off at each other. And we spend all of our time like getting spun up. And it's just like, man, I don't have time for that. Like I'm busy. I'm trying to build a company. I'm trying to be a dad. And when I don't have that time, I want to collect gold Phillip Rivers cards. So it's like, I don't know, man. There's a lot, and it's hard to describe what being a collector does, but it's the reason why I love being in the hobby.
Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely not trying to, put down these other segments of the hobby. I just feel like we're underrepresented in the content space. And that's kind of what I'm getting at is like, people message me, it's really smart that you're buying LeBron right now because this stuff is down. I'm like, I'm always buying LeBron stuff. You just only are noticing it now. Maybe was I an idiot when I was buying it a year ago at peak? Maybe, it's just like, that's when the time comes, and that's when I have the money. It's just happens to be today kind of thing.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, man, and I'm sure you've got this, is like people want to dig in and they want to think like, maybe it's because so much of like there's so much funny business in the hobby, but like some people like just think you just have an ulterior motive, but it's just like, man, like just kind of like, no, I'm collecting this stuff because I love it. And if you listen to my content, obviously like there's a connection there. And so I don't know, man, like you collect LeBron. I don't, but I love seeing your mail days because like I'll see like a Bowman gold LeBron and I'll be like, I wonder like what the football comparison looks like. And I'll go dig in and just, I think there's a lot that we can learn too from other people and other people's collection, even if it's not in the same segment of the hobby that you're buying cards in.
Don't you just love the Topps Finest and Topps Chrome logo? Like when you see those logos on those Chrome cards, doesn't your brain just like, oh God, I have to have that? And Bowman Chrome is kind of similar. That's why I'm going down that path, because I see the logo and I'm just like, oh my gosh.
Dude, like this case I have of all my cards, I haven't done it yet, but I've thought a lot about like, let me do a analysis on like what percentage are Topps Chrome and Finest cards, and by far and the majority. And you've gotten in this conversation a lot, and like I do like Gold Prism, but that's about it in Prism. But I do like when you have 50 copies of a card, it's a really good range. Like it's attainable. Like I feel like when the price goes up and down, it's organic. I don't know. I love 50 out of 50 gold refractors, Chrome, Finest. That's just like, that hits me in all the feels, obviously.
Yeah, you and I can die on that hill because I feel like most people prefer, oh, 10's lower, that's better. Well, 50 kind of gives you this sense of like there's more of us going after them. It's a bigger community of us, and it's still rare. It's like a good combo of rare. 10 is just kind of like, man, only the super rich can have these, or only the people who are in first can have it. There's no room for anyone else to kind of join.
I wish I could remember. I saw someone post a gold prism. It was a basketball player. It was like an up and coming guy, and it was like they wanted like, I don't know, $1,500 for it, and I was just like, really, like you want to spend $1,500 on this card when you could go buy like, you know, a Peyton Manning or, you know, one of these guys that is a legend for, you know, a percentage of that. Like some of the stuff in the hobby doesn't make any sense. And to me, the stuff that doesn't make any sense, if you connect with it from a collector point of view, those are the opportunities you got to take advantage of.
That's like the number one thing I tell people for advice is like, when something doesn't make sense to you, you should attack that. You know, I talked to you about that with the Manning stuff. I said, if it doesn't make sense, then keep doing it.
Totally. And I think it's interesting. I know like we don't want to get into like a bunch of probably market conversation, but like just like the PWCC stuff and the auctions and what happened with some of the Mahomes cards. It's like, it's not like, it's like Mahomes, is he the best player in the NFL right now? They're probably like, yeah, probably. But like, you just like, your cards can't go up forever. Like they just can't. And so like, you look at what Mahomes has done, it's phenomenal, but like, go look at like what Peyton Manning has done. Go look at what like Joe Montana has done. It's like, so I just think like we get so wrapped up in the hobby around like the new and the association and connection with wanting to watch that player who's playing the game right now and have cards, which is fun. I do it. We all do it. But it's like when it starts not to make sense and you're paying, you know, 20x what like another retired Hall of Famer is, that's when I think you got to take a step back and be like, is this the safest decision financially for me and my future? And so I think we're starting to see some of that stuff shake out a little bit, and we'll see when the season starts if it goes back. But I think it's an interesting thing I'm following right now.
Yeah, with the, you know, the feeling that we're entering a recession or we're in a recession, that's going to make things a little dicey, because it's like, if you're going into it that way, what's the first thing you're going to dump? It's that stuff that's risky and that you're worried about holding. And so that, you know, then you get into like people undercutting each other. And the Josh Allen PSA 10 and TRPAs are selling for over $100,000. Has there ever been $100,000 sale of a Peyton Manning card?
And so that's where I think, like, is Josh Allen incredible? Absolutely. Like, think about his last moment of this season in a loss, like how people feel about him. But also, like, dude, like, let me show you this. Let me show you this. How about a 2012 Finest Gold Refractor Pristine 10 of this guy? Does he remind you a little bit of Josh Allen, Andrew Luck? So, like, I think it's just like, I buy these cards because I was there when he came back from 38-3 against the Chiefs and won that playoff game at home. But I mean, it's just like, do you really want to put it like he hasn't won a Super Bowl, no MVP? And that's why I think it's just like, if you're a Bills fan and you got the money, go for it. Like, be my guest. But like, to go in and roll the dice on that and think that card's going to double because you think Josh Allen's going to be the MVP and win the Super Bowl this year, yeah, that's when things get a little twisted.
Man, get off my lawn. That's us. We're just the old guys collecting. Well, we're now like the super early phase of the millennials where we're like, come on, LeBron, Manning, and you know, we've been fighting against Brady and Jordan our whole lives. So it's like, now it's our turn to kind of be the old guard.
totally with Brady, dude, with Brady, man, I don't collect Brady outside of a couple of duels with Manning. But like the best thing for me in the Manning market is to follow the Brady market, because I'll see some crazy sale of a Brady card, and then I'll look at the comparison on the Manning front, and it's like 10x cheaper. And that's where I see opportunity. It's like, okay, well, look at the discrepancy there. Let me go. A perfect example here. Well, I have a card to show. This 2002 Topps Chrome Black Refractor. The Brady is like the card of cards, and because it's his first refractor. Well, what did I do when that card was selling for $30K? I went and was like, I need a Peyton Manning, and I paid maybe $400 for this. And so that's legit. Like it's not a PSA 10, it's a 9, but like seriously, like you got a 30K plus PSA 10 Brady of this, and then I paid like $400 for this. So it's like that's when you start taking advantage of some opportunities. And do I expect this to get up to that price? No, nor do I really care. But I think we always need to look for signals in the hobby, and those buying signals can help drive our activity and make sure that we're not only buying a card that's we feel is cool and is significant to the hobby, but is also probably at a really good price. And I think any advantages we can have at buying at the right time are always warranted. So Brady market, hopefully people keep having fun in that, and I'll keep following along.
I mean, if you're spending 30 grand, you have to have a lot of level of, this is an investment. I think this is a good, place to put my money. And $400, you're thinking, I'm going to enjoy the hell out of this card. And I know what it's kind of like, unrealistic ceiling is because of Brady, and I can enjoy this more knowing I got it cheaper. And that's how I think about buying any card. Really, it's like the price I'm paying, am I going to enjoy owning this? Right? Do I like this as a thing that's going to be in my life that I can look at? And it's like, that's what physical assets are. You're buying a thing to have it, to enjoy it. That's what art is. That's what all this stuff is. And it's just kind of shifted into this, NFT world of who's going to pay more the next time down the line. And that's a dangerous game to play.
Yeah. And I think this is probably more get off my lawn content for the viewers, but
let's keep it going. Dude, we might as
well. for me, honestly, it's my gut check always is after I get off of a stressful Zoom conversation at work, like what I want to go to my case of cards, and I want to pick up cards that make me happy. And if they're not making me happy, then I need to get rid of them. But that's like my litmus test always. It's like these are supposed to be a distraction. These are supposed to be an escape. And I look at these cards and I look at 2002, and then I think about Manning in 2002 and what happened in that season. And those are the rabbit holes I go down. So that's why like I can't connect with anything digital. And look at me, I've got a freaking vinyl collection over here. It's like I'm probably the last person that's going to convert over to the digital stuff. And to me, like that's what people want to do. People want to go join the wave of the future. They can, but like that stuff doesn't make me happy. Nor are you're not going to create content and position and create a message around getting me interested. I don't want to be interested. I'm not there. If everyone else becomes a millionaire and I'm left here with my box of cards and my job that I work and my family, like that's happiness to me. Like jumping in on something that doesn't make me happy, crossing my fingers, hoping that I make money off of it seems crazy to me. So I don't know, that I love physical assets. And so I don't know. I feel like there's just there's a difference. There's a difference between people who are buying to get rid of and people who are buying to keep. And agreed. Like, I think the content around collecting sports cards is it's at a minimum right now. And like, we can do a lot. And collectors are the ones that'll be standing tall under any market condition. So like the more we can service this community and have conversations like this one, I think it's what we need to be doing in the hobby, because crazy stuff's going to continue to happen and things will continue to move in directions we don't want them to.
Really well said, man. Well, let's kind of wrap it up. And I want to hear now that we've covered the past and the present. What do you think about is next? What do you think is next for you in the future with the podcast and your collection?
Yeah, so I think I'll address the podcast first. I think just continue to do what I'm doing. I have really been thinking a lot about expansion around how can I dedicate more time to the podcast and do it in a way that's benefits the hobby and is smart for me, where I could potentially have brands around Stacking Slab of people that are talking about collector driven topics that are focused in on specific areas. That's something that's top of mind for me, that I'm exploring right now. I will continue to be doing what I'm doing. I'm a brand builder for professionally, so I'm always looking for opportunities to expand Stacking Slabs brand. And like, I'll be completely honest with you, man. Like, dude, I would love to at some point be able to say, you know what, like, I want to do this for a living, because what I'm doing is providing such a need for a community of collectors that in a relationship or with an individual or a company makes sense. And so I'm always evaluating those opportunities. I feel like if anyone's spending time on content not doing that, that's kind of silly. So expansion, continuing to deliver and add value, man. I've been having a blast jumping on Instagram every day and building out my relationships there and then creating content. So that's not stopping. And then just with the collection, we all have our lists, I think, and it's just, we all want to look for ways that we can level up through, consolidation, through, relationships. And so there are cards through my lane of collecting that I'll always be pursuing, and it'll always keep me interested. I think for me, one of the things that I'm really trying to figure out for me is, like, I live in Indiana. I live right next to Lucas Oil, but I also live right next to Gamebridge, where the Pacers play. I'm a big Pacers fan. I love basketball. Indiana is all about basketball. And so, but like, basketball is, for as much as I watch it, my collection it's underappreciated in my collection. And a lot of that is a timing thing, where it seemed like basketball, when the market was going nuts, was the one that the segment of the hobby that was like, okay, now is probably not the right time. So I've been trying to be mindful. Like, I listen to you guys every day or every Friday. And actually I listen on Monday when it comes on podcast, but I hear about your LeBron collecting. I hear about Chris's Luka collecting, and I just try to figure out, like, what is my lane into basketball that would make me happy. So that is kind of like my collecting exploration now, is like, I want basketball to be more a part of my mix. And I'm trying to figure out what avenue I want to go down, because there's a lot of options and opportunities, obviously, as you know, as a basketball guy.
Yeah. Is it like a Pacers legend or like a current Pacer player?
It might be an era. It might be I'm curious. Like, the direction I lean is, okay, well, I like gold refractors, so why don't I go collect Reggie Miller gold refractor, that path. But I'm undecided. But the other thing about basketball is, while I'm a Pacers fan, I do, like, across my time as being a basketball fan, I have appreciation for so many players that transcended so many eras. So I think that's the hard part for me, is like, where do I start? And so in my free time, I'm evaluating that, because I know I've hosted so many on my show. The basketball card community is fantastic, and there's so many people in there, that there's so much fun opportunity in there. I'm just trying to figure out exactly what direction I want to go.
Well, there's plenty of room on the Chris Paul collector train if you want to get on that one. It's pretty cheap right now. Everyone hates him. There's room.
What do you think about that?
People have been putting his super rare stuff on eBay recently, like super high end, like pop 2 rookie stuff. And I'm just ready to go, ready to buy more. Cause I've just been looking, you saw my story post, maybe I've been posting like his all-time stats, and he's just like a monster on the analytics, like PER, all that stuff. And it's been beaten into my head through Chris. So I pay attention to it now, and it's like, wow, he was pretty good, or he has been good.
That's like that method. Like if you, without looking at stats, if you say Chris Paul to me, I'm going to tell you top 10 point guard of all time. Like he's somewhere in there. But that's kind of like the stats and the analytics. I don't think they're everything, but like, to be honest with you, when I started buying the shit out of Phillip Rivers, I just like, I was like, he didn't win a Super Bowl. Chris Paul didn't win a championship, but like he's top 10 in all the categories that matter. So like that gives me some confidence that like I'm not just completely pissing all my money away. At the end of the day, they make me happy, but like he's top 10 of all time in two important categories. So I think you got to factor in analytics at some level when you're buying stuff, especially of retired guys or soon to be retired guys.
So here's my last question. Are you going to buy Matt Ryan this year, or are you going to wait for the first Colts quarterback to be on the team for 2 years in a row in the last 5 years?
Dude, I thought I was gonna learn from my mistake last year. So
I was with you, and you were like, Carson Wentz. I need Carson Wentz. I'm like, hold on, let's just calm down.
You weren't the only one. Everyone was like, stop, hold the phone. And dude, to me, like in that experience, I learned a lot, and it was a lesson, and I licked my wounds, and I got out of everything, and it is what it is. You take L's. And so I thought dude, when the Matt Ryan news hit, I was like, oh, this is exciting. Like we had no quarterback for a minute, man. And then all of a sudden we've got Matt Ryan, and again, top 10,
yeah,
all time, and
very different
touchdowns.
From Wentz. Very different from Wentz. Yep.
Established. So for me, I was like, it was the interview, his press conference, man, when he got on there, and it was a professional football player, consummate professional, looking back at what he's done, just what he's done for his community in Atlanta, what he continues to do. I was like, this is my kind of guy. So I'll show a couple cards. I have bought some Matt Ryan cards just because I'm freaking excited. Maybe show some here. So I like to pair cards. And so I showed you the Peyton earlier. I got the Pop 2, the Matt Ryan crystal. So there's like some top 10 of all time, and then both Colts quarterbacks, which is fun.
What year is his rookie year?
2008. So I just got this one, which is, I like it because of the gold auto. It's like, it's an insert. It's not like the RPA, but it from Exquisite, which is kind of fun.
That's like, he's kind of like, he could potentially be like Matt Stafford this year.
That would be a great scenario for Colts fans. But I agreed. I agree from like a upside, like what's possible.
Yeah.
And then just a couple more here. Just like, I like Gold Prism, so I got his 2015. This one popped up, like it, and then the 2013 Select obviously is off the hook. So you never see these cards, and the gold popped up. So I bought it. I was like, I've always wanted a player I collect in this card. The Manning has been he's in a Broncos year. It's Broncos year for Manning, but I've just never been able to get it. So I was like, I'll get the Ryan while it's available.
Yeah, his stats are bonkers. And I know everyone wants to give him a hard time about that Super Bowl, but that season was, I mean, that's the one that he had all the talent around him. He had the right coach around him, and then he just like dominated. He was the MVP that year.
Dude, I'm very optimistic. If it happens again, it happens again. But I don't know, man. Something that doesn't get talked about enough in football is like the importance of like being the guy who walks into the locker room that everyone just like has an ultimate respect for and commands everyone's attention because of their presence. And I think Matt Ryan, like, he holds his position of what he does professionally and for the teams he plays for in such high regard. You can hear him like you hear the reverence of all the greats, and he references that. And I don't know, I found out during his interviews that Peyton's his mentor, and I never knew that. And so like, there's just a lot of good mojo with him. And so for me, it's like, I probably won't go completely nuts, but if there's cards that pop up of his that are fit a certain price that I like and hit a bunch of attributes that I like too, I'm probably going to buy him.
Go listen to his interview with Ryan Russillo this year. It was recent. It's good stuff. It's kind of what you said. Like, you could just tell that he's like he's a dad. Like he's like the dad of of the league or of the team or whatever he's on. And it's just like, this guy's just like an adult dad. Like he just gets it.
We're to that point in our lives, Josh, where people coming across as dads and not kids as athletes.
But you can just tell it's like
with,
this guy, because he kept referencing that he doesn't really listen to the media and stuff, and he wasn't paying attention because the guy's so damn busy at home with his kids because he's a dad. He doesn't have time for that stuff.
when he's not throwing touchdown, he's with his kids. When I'm not working or doing the hobby, I'm with my kids. There's relatable things. There's something we can
Right.
relate as dads with other dads, even though they make a lot more money than we both probably make in our whole entire lifetime.
All right. Well, we've been going for a while. I'm gonna let you go. We both got stuff to do. So thanks for bringing the show back, making the comeback happen here, and really excited that we could bring you on.
Yeah, appreciate it, Josh. I'm glad you're back, and Cardboard Chronicles is back, and excited to follow along.
We'll see if anyone cares. My thumbnail game isn't very good, so it's gonna be just the same old weirdos that watch the show. So thanks to everyone that watches.